Hello, my name is Rhiannon and I work for a not-for-profit community interest company called Supporting Justice, and we are working to improve policy and practice for victims and witnesses. We've partnered with Citizens Advice over their delivery of the witness service. Thank you for joining me for this presentation today, which is to look at the witness service and the service that they deliver to defence witnesses and how their service is relevant to the defence community. So before I begin, let me tell you about the role of witnesses and what the part that they play. Everyone in the criminal justice system has an important part to play, and witnesses, including defence witnesses, are extremely important. They play a vital role in the administration of justice and ensuring defendants receive a fair trial. The criminal justice system would not work without witnesses being prepared to give evidence. Giving evidence as a witness can be daunting and the court process can be complicated and difficult to understand. To give their best evidence, all defence and prosecution witnesses should receive support and be prepared for the experience of being a witness. And witnesses should leave the criminal justice process feeling respected and fairly treated. The Witness Charter, although not statutory or embedded in law, it does act as best practice guidelines for what witnesses should expect. And the Charter can be found on the government's websites. We firmly believe that defence witnesses should receive the same entitlements as prosecution witnesses, and the Witness Charter is a really good starting point. So what does the Witness Service do? Well, Citizens Advice Witness Service is funded by the Ministry of Justice. It's a national service across England and Wales, and it provides free and independent support for defence and prosecution witnesses giving evidence in every criminal court. The support is mainly provided by volunteers, so there are 270 staff running the service, but it's the 2,300 volunteers that give support directly to witnesses, and they undertake extensive training and have to become accredited before they can support witnesses. The impact of the service is that 80% of witnesses we support felt less worried and better able to give evidence. And 82% of those witnesses, 60% of those witnesses were because of the support of the witness service. And it has a very high satisfaction rate, with 93% of witnesses using the witness service feeling satisfied or very satisfied. However, there's a big challenge that of the 180,000 witnesses a year that are supported, only 2% of these are actually defence witnesses. And witnesses who haven't accessed the service have said, "I don't feel like we've been looked after at all. Nobody updated me. It's been really scary, especially when you've never been in or seen a courtroom before." Now, Citizens Advice know that we can improve the witness experience for defence witnesses. So, in order to find out why people aren't accessing the service, Supporting Justice undertook some research. And the next slide shows the methodology for that research. So we spoke to defence lawyers themselves and in total spoke to 23 lawyers. And those lawyers were included those working in the magistrates and Crown courts, and covered those working in both legal aid and with private clients, because we recognise that actually there is quite a significant difference. And we also spoke to defence witnesses themselves, and through semi-structured interviews with 8 defence witnesses, and they gave evidence for a range of different criminal trials, and some of them were also character witnesses as well as those witnesses to the facts. In addition to that, we also spoke to witness service staff, and we also carried out a literature review. And I think what clearly showed was there's been a real lack of research in this area. As an example, structured mayhem, which was quite a large piece of research in the criminal justice field, only spoke to 1 defence witness. And the pre-recorded cross-examination pilots, section 28, there were no defence witnesses involved at all, showing that it really is a major gap in the visibility and understanding of defence witnesses in the criminal justice system. And although we only sought feedback from a relatively small number of defence witnesses and defence advocates across the service, this is the largest piece of research that has ever been done in this area. So what did Supporting Justice find when we carried out this research? Well, the experience of defence witnesses was very similar to that of prosecution witnesses. They recalled being nervous beforehand. There were emotional repercussions from the lack of information and the long delays that they incurred. And to give you some quotes from some of the research, people said, "I know the victim and I'm fearful of him and any repercussions. We've been hanging about for hours with no information. It's horrible because I know and I'm really close to both defendant and victim. My main worry was about work and letting down my employer and getting a bad record for not going to work." Now, those types of quotes are very similar to that of prosecution witnesses who have the same worries. Something that's different is that character witnesses found it difficult that they were not able to comment on the case and given little explanation as to why that was, and found that quite frustrating. There was those who knew the defendant and felt enormous pressure of letting people down, which is the same that we hear from prosecution witnesses about letting the victim down. And some witnesses were concerned about seeing other witnesses. This research really exposes the myth that witnesses who are for the defence are less anxious and won't be intimidated, etc. In terms of the support and preparation needs of witnesses, very few defence witnesses had actually accessed the support of the witness service, and the legal team was the primary source of support for them. Many had no contact from the witness service and did not use waiting rooms, which is again another myth that actually, because defence witnesses turn up on the day, they're automatically signposted to the witness service and therefore will access that support. Some of the quotes we had: "I felt totally let down, no one to ask questions to as the lawyer was busy in court." And lawyers did explain that they don't have time to prepare and support witnesses effectively, especially as their main responsibility is to the client, and quite understandably that responsibility should be to the client. But witnesses, obviously, who are better prepared are likely to give better evidence, and actually witnesses recalled not having enough opportunity to ask questions, and some defence lawyers felt that the lack of preparation might actually have an effect on attrition rates. There was clearly a lack of needs assessment, so the lack of opportunity for defence witnesses to talk about what their needs were, and certainly the lack of a needs assessment means that people aren't being assessed for things like special measures. Also, the research brought out some issues with the equitability of the service, so people being unable to access expenses or interpreting services, particularly for pre-trial preparation, which is expenses that are paid for by the Crown Prosecution Service for prosecution witnesses. And it seemed very unclear whether those, and still seems unclear whether expenses are the same for defence witnesses. Now, luckily, all of the things that witnesses need can actually be provided by the witness service, because that's the things that they're talking about that they need are things that are already provided by the witness service. Within this presentation, there is a slide which is a video, and that video clip is on YouTube and is a 1-minute video which explains what the witness service does, and I would recommend that you have a quick watch of that, as it's very helpful to explaining exactly what the service does. But I will go through now in the next few slides to talk about what the witness service does. So these slides now talk about the witness journey. And this slide gives you an overview of that entire journey. First, it's important to say that the witness service provides support to help people give evidence. And we don't talk about that evidence in any way. So we don't know about what the case is about. We usually just know the offence type, and that's it. And that's so that we can make sure that we don't inadvertently say anything about the evidence to the person, because we won't actually know about it. The witness service role is to make sure that if people come to court, and that is their choice to come to court, that actually they feel supported to do so and are able to give their best evidence. So witnesses who are referred in advance get a number of different services, but obviously people can also access services on the day. So I'll talk about all the different steps, including what that actual support is that they can get. So if witnesses are referred, so defence agencies can refer witnesses, prosecution can, and then individuals can refer themselves. And they would be referred to our National Contact Centre via our online referral form, which can be found at citizensadvice.org.uk/witness. And that referral form is quick and easy to complete, and it asks for certain pieces of information to make sure that we can safely contact witnesses to offer them support. There is also a dedicated phone number that's for witnesses directly or for partner agencies to get through and talk to us. And we can contact witnesses in English or Welsh and have access to interpreting services to meet the needs of those where they would prefer to use another language. In terms of our first contact, once we've received a referral, then we will contact the witness and through a conversation discuss the support that they may need. We conduct a needs assessment and to help inform the level of support that we can offer them, and that involves asking them how they feel about giving evidence and coming to court. And it's through that we can identify if they've got any specific support needs, such as things like special measures, etc., which we can then notify onto other agencies. Once we've agreed what the best form of support is for the witness, then we can book in that support, and we send them a follow-up email to confirm any discussions that we've had. If we've arranged any meetings with the witness, then we'll send them a text message to remind them about the appointments that they have made. So in terms of the actual support, witnesses tell us that advanced support is helpful, but we recognise that all witnesses are different, and so we have a range of support options to cater for all of those witnesses. So firstly, for starting at the bottom of the slide, for witnesses who are vulnerable or intimidated, and that's as defined by the statutory definition of VIWs, we can provide some additional support away from the court, so that's in their home, school or community centre before the trial. So it's about trying to make sure that they feel comfortable and confident before getting to court. As a good example, if somebody was starting school, a child was starting on their first day of school, it's unlikely that parents would send them to school on their first day without having gone to visit the court beforehand, the school beforehand, or having a chance to try on their school uniform and show their grandparents, etc., and start getting them to think about what's going to happen when they go to school. Court is a very scary experience, just like starting school can be. And so the outreach provides that same opportunity of preparation away from the court environment to get people ready for that experience. For those who are not vulnerable or intimidated, or actually don't feel that outreach is for them, then we can show witnesses around the court before the day of the trial, explaining who they'll see, what will happen, and address any concerns. And obviously, if they are eligible for special measures because they're a vulnerable or intimidated witness, then we can explain what those special measures are, where they've been granted, and in fact talk them through those so that actually they can make informed choice or preferences. There'll be some witnesses that actually can't attend the court on another day, but actually they would still like that same level of information, so we can carry out that court pre-trial visit actually on the telephone and talk through all of exactly what the process will be. But then there are some witnesses who actually feel that they're fine about attending court, or actually the information that they need is online and they're quite happy to take a self-serve option, find out what they need to do and use the online content guides to tell them about the process. There will be obviously some witnesses that just attend on the day, and where we've had no notification that anyone is attending, then we might not be resourced to support that witness in the way that we would like to. So we do want to know as much information about who is likely to attend on the day. But we meet and greet witnesses as and when they arrive, even if they've not previously been referred. Although, as I said, it's helpful to know that a witness is planning to attend. And we notify the relevant partners that the witness has arrived. So if they come to our waiting rooms before they've come in to speak to you as the defence solicitor, then we'd obviously notify you that they've arrived. We continue that needs assessment, or we start a brand new needs assessment with people we've not met before to make sure that we can understand what their needs might be for the day. and make sure they understand exactly what is going to happen. So explain the court process to them if they didn't have any pre-trial support. We can attend multi-agency meetings that some court staff have to make sure that any witness needs are raised. So if there are issues with childcare or the fact that a witness might have to leave a particular time or has medical needs, then if we find that information out, then we'll make sure that we inform the court so that there are at least delays as possible. And we liaise with the defence or the CPS to make sure that the witnesses who are waiting for those parties are kept up to date on the timings and progress. And as I mentioned before, it's important to make sure that people's questions are answered and they know what's happening. So we do that and provide emotional support throughout the day. If people want to be accompanied into court, then we can do that, or equally accompany them into special measures if they've been granted them, obviously at the discretion of the court. For those witnesses that have received an outreach service, it's really important that that ending is managed effectively and that we don't just leave them. So we have a follow-up meeting hold a final visit with witnesses to close off the support. But we're also there to talk to witnesses about how the experience went before they leave on the day, and we can refer or signpost witnesses onto other people if they've got other issues that are affecting their lives. And if people want to attend a sentencing hearing, then the witness service can also be there to support them. The important thing is that the witness service wants to make sure that people are able to leave court feeling they've been able to give their best evidence. So why should you refer witnesses to Citizens Advice Witness Service? Well, referring defence witnesses has many benefits for you and for the witness. Witnesses are likely to give better evidence if they feel prepared and supported, as I've already mentioned, and it may reduce the attrition rates of witnesses not attending as they feel supported. It can allow you more time to spend with your client rather than keeping defence witnesses updating on the proceedings when at court. It helps witnesses feel valued and help increase their willingness to be a witness again in the future. And it demonstrates a level of excellence through your commitment to the Witness Charter. So the next slide just is a reminder about how you can refer to the witness service. So there is the referral form that's online. You can call us, or the witness can call us directly, or you can drop in person to the witness service office, the waiting room, or visit the witness service desk if there is one in your local court. We're in every single criminal court in England and Wales, so you'll be able to find us there. So Citizens Advice Witness Service started a project to try and increase the number of witnesses, defence witnesses, who know about the service that's available to them. And in order to really make this a successful project, we need to promote the service through a multifaceted approach to promotion. So over the last month, we've been putting in articles in national publications to raise awareness of the support. The witness service has been attending partnership meetings, and also volunteers have been speaking to defence solicitors on a one-to-one basis at court. We would like to encourage you to tell your colleagues about this presentation and about the information that we've discussed today to make sure that others know about the support that is available. We want to encourage agencies to meet their commitment in the Witness Charter for defence witnesses. We're giving, obviously, doing as much as we can in terms of visible promotional materials. We're also trying to work on setting up a process to be alerted when defence witnesses arrive at court, so we know to expect them. And we're making contact with local law firms. Volunteers at Citizens Advice are also receiving additional training to embed the information we've gathered from the work of the research that's been conducted to make sure that volunteers can best support witnesses attending. The final slide is some feedback that we've had about the service from a defence solicitor who's used it. Would please encourage you to make sure that you use the service. It's free to use and available, and the research has shown that people find it valuable. If you'd like to know more about the witness service, then you can sign up to the Best Evidence newsletter, which is at wsnewsletter@citizensadvice.org.uk. Thank you very much for listening.